secure the border.
Secure the border.
Secure the border.
Secure the border.
Most candidates also said, I'm not anti-immigrant, I welcome immigrants who come here legally. Jeb Bush went further and took heat for saying, yes, millions of undocumented people who are here did come here illegally.
But it's not a felony. It's kind of it's an act of love.
Love because they're trying to create a better life for their families. But that statement appalls Dennis Lynch, who spent his own money making 3 anti-immigration documentaries titled They Come to America.
They rape our kids and kill our neighbors.
It's not safe to not screen these people.
They steal our jobs.
No, that's totally deceitful, says Alex Narasta of the Cato Institute. Alex?
Well, they create a lot more jobs than they take in the United States. I mean, the data is clear on this.
All right, well, that's how I read the data. But Dennis, you obviously disagree, and you're spending your own money making these movies.
Well, first of all, you classify the movies as anti-immigrant. They're anti-illegal immigrant, not anti-immigrant.
But you don't want to let more people in legally either.
Oh, I want the legal immigration to be lowered more to a replacement level because I don't see what the funny part was. You don't laugh when you're out of work.
Well, why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because he says he's not anti-immigrant. If somebody said they want to cut legal gun ownership by half, we call them anti-gun. If somebody said they wanted to cut taxes by 50%, we call them anti-tax.
You know, when I tell my wife to stop spending so much on the credit card, I'm not anti-wife.
You're anti-her spending a lot of money, though.
Why do you want the legal immigration rate down?
Because right now we have more Americans who are out of the workforce than ever before. And we also know that immigrants coming into this country, in the mass numbers that they are, they depress wages. We can't be taking in more people until we put the American people on the pathway to the American
We
dream.
used to take a much higher percentage.
A percentage of what?
Percentage
And
of
right now
people.
they're putting Americans on the sidelines because they're undercutting.
You want to reduce illegal immigration.
I want to eliminate illegal immigration.
Isn't it much harder when we make it so hard to come here legally? Let's go to Facebook for a moment. Let's get some audience participation in. James Miles wrote us, why can't they just issue green cards with background checks? We know where they are, we can tax them, let them try for the American dream. They're family people.
John, America takes in more legal immigrants than all other countries combined. How many people do we have to take in before it becomes too much? Why don't you address, Mr. Think Tank, why don't you address why it is that wages are so depressed here in the United States?
Obamacare destroyed a lot of jobs in the economy. There are more regulations of businesses than ever before. There are more taxes on American wage earners than ever before. There are more restrictions on people creating businesses.
That's what your data says. Your data, which is pushed by lobbyists and by outside money that wants you to say what it is that you just
The outside money, you would argue, are these businesses who want to hire people from other countries.
You know what? You brought up Facebook. Let's look at Facebook. Let's look at Google. Let's look at Apple and Microsoft. 4 of the biggest companies in Silicon Valley who are pushing for more H-1B visas.
Some created by
They're
immigrants.
saying, oh my goodness, we can't find enough workers. We're having such a hard time. Well, I've been a businessman for 25 years prior to being a filmmaker. I understand one thing, that if you can't find the right workforce, your business can't grow. Those stocks of those companies that I just brought up to you over the past 5 years, the minimum one doubled. Most of them quadrupled. So, you know what?
It's quintuple if they can hire the people they need.
They are hiring people from overseas because they pay them far less and because they can handcuff them with that visa.
And they go overseas as well because they can't get the workers that they want. They're not just workers, they're not just machines, they're also consumers. Tell me, Mr. Businessman, what would happen if 40% of your customers went away and left this country?
Jeb Bush on the campaign trail sometimes speaks Spanish. Does
Yeah.
it bother you?
You know what? It's not if it bothers me, it's if it bothers the American people. Act of Love is doing real good in the polls. Donald Trump is killing it in the polls. Okay? And he's killing it in the
Doesn't
polls
make him right.
because he's saying what Americans have been dying to say but have been too afraid to. And so what Donald Trump has done is he's giving you the license not to feel bad about the fact that you are pro-America. That's it.
Americans voted for Obama too. Does that make him right by your logic? Does that make Obamacare right by your logic?
Obamacare is a disaster.
Let's stick to the issues, and let's not stick to this appeals to what the voters voted for in the past.
John,
Let's
where
just
do
play
you
another
actually-
clip from one of your movies. You interviewed a
think that's
Border
great.
Patrol officer who said
Someone's
this.
got lost.
It is unbelievably overwhelming. I wish the American people had the ability to see some of these background checks that we run on people. You're not seeing the rapists, the murderers that come from other countries. You're not seeing the potential, the terrorists that come from these other countries.
So this agent is saying he's letting the rapists and the terrorists in, or what's his...
No, what that agent is saying is that he's very disturbed in the fact that the Obama administration is allowing people to come into this country and then being released into the general public. 25% of them have committed crimes already here in the U.S.
And they let them in?
They have no choice. That's what the Obama administration is doing.
If you're worried about these issues that he's talking about right now, you would want to expand the legal immigration system so that the door is wide enough that these folks would come through legally and you can actually do a check on them. He's complaining about the government not being able to regulate a black market.
But Alex, true that the Border Patrol guy says, oh, you committed a crime in America, they let them in anyway?
No, they absolutely don't. They detain them, they deport them back into the center of their countries, they treat them very harshly, like they should treat real criminals trying to come into the United States. Now, every once in a while, they do make a mistake and let somebody go, and that person commits a heinous crime, and that is reprehensible. But generally, it's not the way it is.
Hundreds of times a day.
On that note, thank you, Dennis. Now it's time for our audience to push back. Do you have questions or comments for pro-immigration Alex Noresta, anti-immigration Dennis Lynch, or state competition advocate Camille Foster?
Why are so many Americans welcome for Syrian refugees to come to the country, but when it comes to Mexican immigrants, they're not so happy with the idea?
Well, I think more Americans are happy with it than it seems. I mean, millions of Americans are fine with working next to Mexicans, hiring them, buying products from them, being their neighbors. We are focusing in on a small number of people who say a lot of very nasty things.
If you look at Donald Trump,
that would be so much easier.
you can laugh all you want, but he's laughing all the way to the GOP nomination. So I think that may be the data that you want to take a look at. So I think the polls are going to ultimately tell the story.
But he's saying we welcome Syrians, not Mexicans. Is that true?
I think that Americans welcome immigrants. We welcome them legally, and we welcome them just as long as it is that we can choose who comes into this country.
Yes, sir.
I'm against illegal immigration as well, but when you talk about limiting legal immigration, isn't that diametrically opposed to meritocracy?
Right now, because of the way the things are economically in this country, we have a lot of Americans who are suffering. I see a lot of Americans who are struggling, and they don't want to struggle. So if we could just limit the amount of immigration we're taking in right now, we would absolutely open up more opportunities.
What about his point about meritocracy?
You're going to pose these sort of questions with that sort of thing because you want to make it look like I'm anti-immigrant. Just the way you introduced me was, anti-immigration.
I watched your film.
I will tell you what, I will guarantee both my legs you haven't watched my films.
Okay, I haven't watched all your films.
You haven't watched any of them.
I've watched clips.
Yeah, okay. Right, of Border Patrol agents who put their life on the line every single day so you could sit here and do your show, and you're going to criticize that guy for what he's saying coming through the border.
Doesn't the danger of the entire enterprise have something to do with the illegality of coming to this country if you happen to be born in Mexico, want to come to the United States to work and to obtain a better life for yourself?
Hey, listen,
if you make that illegal, then you've made this dangerous. The only people who will dare to do it are armed thugs.
We have a hodgepodge of people coming in here, and they're coming in here without abiding to our laws. We have laws for a reason. A lot of times people will say we are a land of immigrants. I like to change that a little bit. I like to say we are a land of laws who welcome immigrants to come in and follow those laws.